What's happening, MJ traders and investors? It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also, home to the best MJ community. It is Tuesday, May 28th. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, we're going to be discussing whether or not Canopy growth earnings will save the MJ sector. We had another brutal day today. Some names down 5, 10%, but double digits on the board today. So another brutal day, and sell-off continues after we had the DEA news come out that we're in agreement that we should reschedule to Schedule 3, but it's not official. The process has officially kicked off, but the rescheduling itself hasn't happened yet. And something I've been saying on the channel for a while now is a lot of names still didn't confirm monthly uptrends, including CGC. And I said that it probably wouldn't happen this month because we'd have to pull back way too much. I mean, crazier things have happened, but it was like something like I think like a 50 or 60% pullback. We would have had to lose $6. So I think the most likely scenario is we see that next month, but we'll dive into the chart here in detail in just a moment. Before we do though, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. As always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Never buy or sell anything based on anything that I say or anything that I write. Also, you can follow us over on Twitter, which is now X. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my social media platform of choice going forward. And full disclosure, I do own Canopy in my MJ portfolio. So as I mentioned in my previous video, I did a video 9 days ago. It was an earnings prep and analysis video. And if you haven't seen that, you can check it out. I give my analysis and the estimates, but we'll take a look at that in just a moment in terms of revenue and EPS, what to expect there. But if you've already seen that video, again, I don't want to reiterate it. So if you want to go back and go through that video in its entirety, if you so choose, I think it'd be well worth your while. So Canopy Growth to report fourth quarter and fiscal year 2024 financial results on May 30th. That's this Thursday before markets open. So we'll see whether or not this can put a stop to the bleeding in the sector. In terms of revenue, we're expecting on average, what I do in these earnings prep videos is I go through all of the analyst estimates that we have available, and then I divide them and get a consensus among Wall Street, right? So as of right now, we're forecasting 73.9, we'll round that up to 95, so 73.95 million in terms of revenue, and then an EPS was forecasted at negative 0.312. Now, the only silver lining here and decent thing that something that some good that could come out of this downside that we've been seeing is the fact that if they do beat those estimates, it wouldn't take a very large beat for the stock to see a pretty sizable move to the upside based on how much we've pulled back. Just like if we run into earnings and we have a big miss, well, the more you run, the harder you fall, right? And then same thing, the more we fall and, let's say we absolutely crush earnings and we're still in oversold territory and, we pulled back, from the high here. Let's just go to the daily time frame. So since the DEA came out with the news, we shot up all the way up to $15, I believe it was. Yeah, $14.92. From there, we pulled back to the low of today. We were down 45%. Okay. So after a big move like that, though, where we're up 447% from the lows, you need to expect a 30, 40, 50% pullback, right? And here we are. We're down almost 45% essentially. And we could still see an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross as well. So it's not looking too hot here. And on the hourly time frame, it was an hourly bear flag that confirmed. And if you take your measured move, it's saying that we could potentially be heading down to $8. We did hit $8.21 today, so it's entirely possible that the downside is limited. But I do think that we could potentially come down into that bear flag target, and whether or not we see some hidden bullish RSI divergence, let's see if we can get that into tomorrow on the hourly time frame as well. But we were hourly oversold. We had a nice bounce there off hourly oversold of about 8, just under 9%, and then we hit hourly oversold again. We actually dipped lower than the previous hourly oversold territory that we were at. The first time though, when we shot all the way up to almost $12, and then we hit hourly oversold. Look at the monster move on that one. It was like 120 some percent, right? So as of right now, we're still potentially expecting, from the low of the day today to where we're expected to go in that measured move, it's just under 3% away. So I think downside is definitely limited here, but I think, maybe they come down, we flush it below $8 this month, maybe even tomorrow. We see that daily EMA 12 and 26 bear cross. And then on the monthly time frame, we're just looking for a monthly higher low. So this is why I was so confident in saying that I didn't think monthly consolidation was going to happen this month, because when we started the month, we opened at 1397. So that means we would have had to pull back almost, just under 60% just to start monthly consolidation to get the higher low, right? A lot of names are already in monthly uptrends, which means they have their low, high, they had a higher low, and then a higher high. So CGC is a very big laggard. It's still just topping out here on the bounce. So we still need the higher low and then the higher high. And even from the low of where we are in this month so far, we'd have to still drop another over 26% just to start monthly consolidation. So what I think the most likely scenario is, with 2 days, 19 hours left in this monthly candle, is that we tighten up, which is what I've been saying for many weeks now, that we tighten up, and then into next month, potentially we start monthly consolidation and we lose the low of this month next month. Then that means we're pulling back, we're consolidating. Then we look for a higher low compared to 276, maybe somewhere around that $7, $6 area, form that higher low and then a higher high. And I've been saying, I mentioned this to Pow Group private members today, that as of right now, a lot of names still have yet to confirm monthly uptrends. So the most likely scenario, I think, is we got the sell the news event, right, with the rescheduling, but it hasn't been enacted yet. It's not official. The process has officially been started, but it has to go through the comment period, right? And then potentially an administrative hearing, and then the DA goes back, we're going to see the final ruling. So it could take years. I think it's going to happen before the election. I think it has to, because it'd just be, Biden's political death sentence. Like, if he doesn't get something done, people are just going to be absolutely furious, right? They're not going to ever vote for him ever again, or specifically not this term. But if he does run again, you can't run more than 2 terms anyway. But anyways, I digress. At the end of the day, it's shaping up like we could see a little bit more pullback into June, maybe even into July. We get that summer lull. Everybody thinks it's going to be a boring summer and more downside, right? And then the comment period is over on July 22nd. So somewhere, maybe toward end of July, we should start to trend back up, in my opinion, leading into those elections, where we should see MJ and crypto big topics and points of contention and something to sway voters, right? Especially younger voters. So if we see that, heavily relied upon and utilized into the elections to sway voters, then it's going to be huge. And then we could potentially get banking. If we get rescheduling before the elections, we could get banking. That's going to open up the doors for that to happen. It's going to be a lot easier. We could see uplisting to the NYSE, or more than likely the NASDAQ. We know the NASDAQ has been in contact with, they said they're warming up to Canadian companies with U.S. exposure, and Curaleaf said that they were discussing uplisting with a U.S. major exchange. And I'm just putting 2 and 2 together and thinking it's probably the NASDAQ, based on NASDAQ warming up to Canadian companies with U.S. exposure. So if that were to happen, Germany fast-tracking Pillar 2, we got other states, we have Florida, right? We could potentially see that approve, which I think is very likely. I think it's, probably a coin flip, but I'm still a believer that they're more than likely going to get it passed. And then, Pennsylvania, we have Ohio coming online, right? Or just came online. So, or I think it begins the beginning of June. So there's lots to look forward to. Could there be other countries in the EU, other states, right? We have New Hampshire as well. So there's a lot happening. There was also news today that I think it was the South African president signed MJ legalization bill into law. So we know Thailand's kind of been taking a step back and flip-flopping on their decision. But as of right now, I'm still thinking that that's the most likely scenario, is we form a monthly higher low into next month, and then we should start to see the fireworks and monthly uptrends confirm, and bullish momentum, and potentially a new multi-year bull market into the end of the year here. On the weekly time frame, we did lose the 10-week moving average, but the week isn't over yet, so we'll see if bulls can save that. But we did have a stochastic bear cross quite a while ago. That was over a month ago, so we had a little bit of a cause for concern in there, and a little bit of a heads up. And then the MACD on the weekly is crossing bearish as well. So it's entirely possible that we get to that $8 mark this week, and then into next week, into next week and next month, then we see monthly consolidation, and then that will give and I'm not telling you to buy, sell, or hold, but I think that monthly higher low will be a decent area to look for on an entry. And I said the same thing about Oxley, look for a monthly higher low, right? Because we ran from all the way up from 1 penny all the way up to 7 cents. So Oxley ran about over 600%. And then I said, wait for a monthly higher low. We still haven't confirmed a monthly uptrend. So we lost the low of last month this month. And I said, watch 4 cents, 3 cents for an area to target for entries. I actually added a little bit more today. And I think, somewhere around there, that 3 cent EMA 12 there as well. Should be a nice monthly higher low. And then something similar on CGC. We haven't lost a low the previous monthly candle, so we do that next month. We look for a higher low somewhere around that 650 area, I think. But on the weekly time frame, we had our signs pointing to downside. We needed to be a little cautious there. And then we also topped out just under the 100 weekly, which a lot of other names did as well. If you take a look at Tilray on its move got above it and then major pullback. So something similar on CGC, even ACB. So Aurora, same thing, got above it, started to pull back. So that increases the odds that CGC was likely to do that as well. And we have the 50 weekly there at 613. So I think that, mid 6, low 6s, I think is going to be solid support. I can't see us going much below that, to be honest with you. In terms of the daily time frame, we did have a golden cross the first time in over 3 years, but we did lose the 50-day moving average today and close below it. So it's entirely possible that we come back down and test the 100 and 200 daily moving average, which is again around that 630 area. So 100 at 634 and the 200 at 638. So a lot of support in that $6 area. If you're wondering where we could potentially be scouting a bottom for a monthly higher low. Not sure if you can hear my daughter in the background. My partner's looking after her. She just got some shots today, so she's definitely not feeling herself today. And cries are very prevalent in the evening today. So should be an interesting night ahead. But we'll see should be an interesting Thursday and rest of the week as well. We'll see whether or not CGC can uplift the MJ sector going into Thursday, because like I said, we had a sea of red out there. We had a little bit of green, DB, but it's basically just recovering from the previous drop. And then on the US side, a little bit of green out there, not much. But yeah, lots of names were down. On average, most names were down about 5% today. And I don't believe we're going to get any insight into Canopy USA into the earnings this week. It's more than likely going to be the next quarter. I might even hazard a guess that it might be the quarter after that, because I think they've run into a few roadblocks with acreage and getting all of that finalized. So we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll continue the conversation there, and I'll definitely be doing a video on Canopy for their earnings review. All right, enjoy the rest of your evening. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth, and we'll see you again on the next one.